So as I mentioned earlier, right, although your donee has wide-ranging powers, they have no powers to make certain decisions. And one of these decisions is life and death. Your donee has no power under the LPA to tell the doctor not to resuscitate you, not to save you, right? So, but we do recognize, what if we are ever at the stage where we are on the brink of death, where we are unconscious, death is imminent, and we are terminally ill. But we do not want to be put on a life-sustaining support machine, for example. The law in Singapore, right, the Advance Medical Directive Act allow us to do this document to tell the doctors not to prolong our life artificially, right? In other words, what we can do is for the passive withdrawal of treatment and let us go with dignity. This is AMD, right? Which is also a legal document, but it can only be done by a doctor. From what I know, not many doctors actually do this. But the partner doctor whom we work with actually provide this service. Advance Medical Directive, which is to tell them not to use any life-sustaining treatment, prolong your life, in the event you become terminally ill and unconscious but death is imminent, under the AMD Act 1996. Right? It's a very important document. Now, who can do an AMD? Well, any Singapore citizen above 21 years old can do an AMD as long as you are not mentally incapacitated. And this document has to be signed by the doctor. Right? So the doctor has to assess you. And then once you understand what you are signing, you know what you're getting into, the doctor will witness it, and his clinic staff will be the other witness. And thereafter, the AMD form has to be registered with the Ministry of Health. So how this works is that when your time comes, the doctor will call the Ministry of Health and ascertain if you've done an AMD. Once that is confirmed, the doctor will break the news to your loved ones and say that daddy and mommy has done an AMD. Basically, this tells us that they do not want to be resuscitated. They want to go home. It is all about respecting the decision of your mom and your dad, right? So this in some way will alleviate the burden on the shoulder of your children. They do not have to make that kind of decision, say that, well, should we bring daddy home or should we bring mommy home? It is not going to be an easy decision, right? So make your own decision. Now, for a moment, just think about this. If you are ever at this stage, when you're on the brink of death, do you want to be hooked up to a life support machine? Life-sustaining treatment is not cheap. I mean, oxygen at your home now is free. Oxygen in the hospital is never free, right? Every single day when they pump oxygen into your lungs, right? One life support treatment is when they open a hole in your throat and put a respirator through. The cheapest life support treatment costs $500 a day. In a private hospital, it can go up to $5,000 a day. Now, do you want to spend this money to prolong your life artificially? Are you frightened of death? Or do you want to save this money for your loved ones? First question. Second question, it will not be you who suffer alone. Your whole family will suffer with you. Because every single day, your family, your loved ones will visit you in the hospital, praying for a miracle that you will wake up one day, right? So they will suffer with you, the whole family. And thirdly, is there any dignity in this? To be hooked up to a life support machine? If your answer is no to all these three questions, then this is a document that you need to do. Many of my clients agree with me. They believe that if they are ever at this stage, they do not want to be hooked up to a life support machine, right? They do not want any life-sustaining treatment. They would want to go home, all right? So this is an extremely important document for you to consider. And it doesn't cost you an arm and leg. It only costs you, I think, $80, and that includes doctor's fee, all right? So just to recap, I have covered three documents, very important documents under the Advanced Care Planning Framework, Advanced Care Planning Workbook, the Lasting Power Attorney, and the Advanced Medical Directive. Many of my clients, when they come to us, they will do all these documents at one go, all right? Because they realize that all these documents are extremely important. And when a person passes away, of course, we no longer talk about advanced care because there is no care to talk about because you are already dead. What we need to talk about then is whether you have a will put in place, whether you have done any proper estate planning. As I shared with many, I do these talks, like I've been doing this talk for 15, 16 years, right? I've shared with so many people. Advanced care planning is important, right? The stuff that I just covered. Estate planning, making a will is part of estate planning, is also important. But never neglect financial planning. Now, these three types of planning must go hand in hand. Let me repeat. Estate planning, advanced care planning, financial planning, they have to go hand in hand. All right? You cannot have one type of planning without the other. It just doesn't make sense. Advanced care needs money, right? Money alone cannot solve the problem too. So they go hand in hand. All right? So please do proper financial planning to make sure that your advanced care plan can be implemented properly according to your wishes. All right? Otherwise, who is going to pay for you, bro? Nobody is going to pay for you. No. You're going to get your children to pay for you in Gleneagles Hospital, stay in A ward. All this costs money. So you need adequate and proper financial planning. I always share with many people, if you don't have enough to take care of your own health, if you don't have enough to enjoy a decent retirement, if you don't have enough to take care of your debts, bro, what do you have to give when you die? Your will becomes meaningless. Meaningless. Your will is just a piece of paper with nothing to give, just a bunch of words, right? So you need to make sure that you take care of your own health, right? So that you will not be a burden to your children. Don't put them in what we call a sandwich class. You know sandwich class? Don't put them in that kind of situation. Don't be a burden. Take care of your own health, right? Take care of your own debts, your mortgage loan, please. If you have a mortgage loan, please consider taking out a mortgage insurance. Otherwise, the property may not get transferred to your children. The bank will come in first and repossess, The bank will come in and say, hey, Choto Mate, do you have enough money to settle your father's mortgage loan? If there's not enough money to settle the mortgage loan, the bank will come in and repossess your property. Even if you have a will, the will cannot transfer that property. So consider a mortgage insurance and settle all these mortgage loans, because they will not disappear miraculously just because you have passed away. Right? Your car loan, your credit card loan. So make sure you have done proper financial planning. Take care of all these things. And importantly, have a decent retirement. Make sure you have enough to enjoy a decent retirement. And lastly, because you have done proper financial planning, you can ensure that after all these are settled, there is still a nice nest egg that you can pass down to your loved ones, your children, your grandchildren, your wife, your husband. That entails proper financial planning, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't say this because FLA has invited me here. I need to say a few good words about financial planning. That is because I believe 120%. When my father died 8 years ago, he spent 1 year in the Singapore General Hospital. He is one guy who refused to believe in any form of financial planning. He thinks it is a scam. Despite my best effort to convince him, he refused any form of financial planning. And guess what? He always believed he would die in his sleep. But he didn't. He spent 1 year in the Singapore General Hospital. He went through 5 surgeries. The medical cost came up to $268,000. His Medisave, he had only 25,000. His savings 20. That couldn't even withstand 1 surgery. And guess who paid for the rest of the medical cost? My mom and me and my 2 brothers. It became a family affair. I know some of you, $268,000 is like loose change. But for my family, it meant everything. $268,000. It wiped out all my savings. Right? It was a painful period in 2012 for my whole family. At the end, my father still died after all the surgery. Where did he die? In SICU, Surgical Intensive Care Unit, after they intubated his throat. And he died in the cheapest ward, C ward, in a government hospital, without air conditioning. This was the condition that my father passed away because he did not have any financial plan. And now my father is dead. We are still alive. My brother and my life restarted in 2013. Because at that time, by the time my father passed away, we had nothing left. We spent every single cent on his health care. And at the end, he still died. Do you want this to happen to your children, ladies and gentlemen? Think carefully. We all have loved ones. I will never let that happen to my children. I have 3 children too. After seeing what happened to my father, I got myself covered, insured. If I were to suffer some major illnesses, I will not have to burden my children. Because by the time they have their own family to look after, I will never want to be a burden to them. My own health problem, I take care of it myself. Right? My retirement, I take care of it myself. I will not want to rely on my children to feed me, to give me handouts. Right? I believe many of you share the same view. But all this require you to sit down and do proper financial planning, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a dirty word. It is important because we love our family, because we all have loved ones, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry if I come across as being a bit emo, a bit emotional, but that is because I share all this with 120% conviction. Right at the end, before I didn't have time to share all the stories. Before my father passed away 2 months, my best friend died too. I lost my best friend at the age of 39. My best friend, whom I know since national service, died 1st November 2012, alone in Balestier. We found him dead alone. That is how I lost my best friend of 20 over years. Right? Same thing. No financial planning, no will, no nothing. At the end, who suffered? His parents. His parents suffered. He is the only child, only son, sorry. So during that period of time, a lot of people left my life. So I could totally appreciate how important all these things are. Never, never underestimate. All right?